Hello, welcome to episode 191 of the Epic Film Challenge 2, 1001 movies you must see before you die. It is October once again, and while I won't be doing as big of a horror month season as I did last year in 2016, I still plan to cover some of the horror films that are still left for me to review in the book, 1001 movies you must see before you die. I think there's 35 left in the horror section at the index at the back of the book. Last year, of course, I covered like all the heavy-hitting classics, stuff like Psycho, Jaws, The Exorcist, The Thing, Alien, like the best of the best horror movies pretty much were covered last year. The Evil Dead, Poltergeist, all those classics, and some other films that we kind of argued about whether they're even horror films. There's going to be a few of those probably this month as well. So I don't know how many I'm going to get to, but I want to get to as many as I can and kind of tick that off the list in a lot of ways. Horror isn't my favorite genre, but I do like a really good horror film, so I'm looking forward to seeing the interesting selection of films that I didn't choose to watch last year. I think there's going to be some real gems in there, and I think there's going to be some films that I just don't get on with whatsoever. So kicking things off, we have The Seventh Victim from 1943. This is another Val Lewton produced film for RKO Pictures, one of the kind of film noir horror movies from the 1940s. A real kind of spooky atmosphere, but great kind of lighting and just a moody feeling to it. Just like two other films I've talked about in the series so far, being Cat People, which I watched last year, and just a month ago I think it was, I Walked with a Zombie. I thought I Walked with a Zombie was very good. I enjoyed it very much, but didn't quite feel like it was a film you must see before you die. And Cat People I thought was great. I really liked it. I thought it was a cool, spooky tale, and definitely one you should probably check out before you die. I can't help but compare The Seventh Victim to those two films because all three of them are produced by Val Lewton, who is a guy who oversaw a lot of these horror films for RKO in the 1940s. We have Tom Conway, who appears in all three movies. In fact, he appears in Cat People as Dr. Judd, and in The Seventh Victim, he appears as Dr. Judd. Which, if you've seen Cat People, you know that this doesn't quite make sense, especially considering it's set after it. He mentions a case he had of a woman who went mad, which kind of alludes to Cat People, but it still doesn't quite make any sense why he'd even be in The Seventh Victim. But it is what it is, and I guess that they kind of did this to, I guess, sell the movie better, and it wasn't a successful movie when it came out, and I guess I can see why. The Seventh Victim is different to those other two films, Cat People and I Walked with a Zombie, because in Cat People you have a woman who, you know, the mystery is whether or not she can actually turn into a panther. In I Walked with a Zombie, it's, you know, kind of, you know, sets itself up, you know, to do with voodoo and things like that. The Seventh Victim is much more grounded in reality, and it's about a woman called Mary, played by Kim Hunter, and this was her first film role. She'd go on to win an Oscar for, you know, Best Actress, and she also was in the first couple of Planet of the Apes movies, and she had a start to a career in this movie. I thought she was very good as Mary. Not great, but, you know, I could tell there was a kind of charisma to her and kind of a screen presence that, you know, it just seemed like a first performance of an actor who would go on to be very good. You know, it wasn't this this standout wow performance, but it was something where, yeah, I can see where she's pretty good here. You know, so I could see where that would evolve and develop over the years. And I think that she won the Oscar like 10 years after this. So it's about this young girl called Mary. Let me get to the plot. And she hears that her sister Jacqueline has been, you know, practically missing for about 6 months. No one's heard from her, so she goes to New York to see what's up and to find her sister. And along the way, she meets people who were in contact with her sister. There's a man who was in a relationship with her, and then there's, you know, all sorts of characters that crop up who are involved with Jacqueline, and no one seems to quite know where she is. So Mary is on the search for her sister who is missing. And I loved the mystery of the missing sister in this film. It was done so well. I was so intrigued from the first, you know, the opening minutes of the movie when Mary's at the school that she's at and they tell her, and it's like, oh, what's going on with her sister then? And so I don't know, I just really liked the forward momentum of the mystery plot as it unraveled throughout the first two acts of the film. It's about an hour and 8-9 minutes, something like that, a pretty short movie like they usually are. From Val Lewton, I have to say. They're all around 1 hour and 10 minutes. But apparently this film had a lot of stuff cut out of it, some big scenes, and a different ending as well. And I read what those scenes were, and I think some of them really could have benefited from being in the movie, because the problem I had with this film was the third act. It had such a great setup, you know, the characters who were kind of getting weaved into the story, and Mary's search for Jacqueline, and we even see Jacqueline at one point, but she doesn't say anything. And so the mystery just keeps building and building. You know, what is it? You know, just tell us. And so by the time we get to the reveal in the third act, I just felt like it wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. And I just can't be eloquent about this. I really can't. I've tried to think of ways to put this, but the only way I can really put it is it just wasn't satisfying. Like, I just felt like it should have been something different. I don't know what, but whatever I was imagining in my head was better than what the actual reveal was. Now, it's an interesting reveal, don't get me wrong, it's not terrible, it doesn't fall flat, but I didn't feel like the character of Jacqueline, once we got her in the film as a proper character and she started speaking and interacting with other characters, I didn't feel like I knew her that much. And I love the idea, before we even meet Jacqueline, where Mary meets this couple who are renting Jacqueline a room, but she doesn't stay there. And so they go into the room to see if there's anything that could help them to help Mary find her sister. And all they find in the room is a chair and a noose hanging above it. And the idea is that Jacqueline just wants to have this out for her life. You know, she wants to be in control of her life, that she can go and end it at any point that she feels. And that's a really interesting character choice, and it made me really intrigued to meet this woman. And then once we met her and we found out why, you know, she was kind of off the grid, it was like, oh, okay, well how did she get involved in that? That never really gets revealed, and yeah, I just wasn't a big fan of it, I suppose. But I still think it's a really good film. I really enjoyed it, and the ending is very good. There's a great scene at the end between Jacqueline and this woman who is sick, and she's talking to Jacqueline about how, you know, I'm dying, I'm sick, and I'm sick of it, basically. To very loosely paraphrase, she says, I'm gonna dress up and I'm gonna go out like I used to, you know, because I'm sick of this. And Jacqueline talks to her about, you know, life basically and death, and that was when I really started to see something in Jacqueline as a character. But that was right at the very end, and so, you know, it's kind of like, if only we'd had more of that, because I thought the actress who played Jacqueline was very good in that last scene. So overall, it was a very good film that I enjoyed, and I would definitely watch it again. This one hasn't got a Blu-ray release, so if they were to do some kind of, you know, 4K restoration gimmick and put it out on Criterion, I'd be all over that. I'd love to see this in better quality. I mean, it looks great. You know, it has that film noir sensibility to it with the lighting and the way that the story is told. And I just like seeing the film noir style put through the lens of a creepy kind of, not horror story, I wouldn't even say with this one. It's more of a thriller, I think. But it does have a very interesting scene in it, in a shower. I certainly think this predates Psycho. Well, it definitely does in terms of when it was made, but I'd find it very hard to believe if Alfred Hitchcock hadn't seen this. It's not quite like the shower scene in Psycho, but Mary's in the shower and this woman comes to meet her and gives her a very serious message, but it's framed behind the shower curtain. You just see the shadow, and then we cut back and we see Mary's face just obscured by the shower curtain. And just a great piece of direction, you know, just the staging, the framing, the choice to have this very intense conversation between these two people take place with a literal kind of curtain behind them and kind of their shadowy figures, all that they can interact with. I thought it was a really cool idea, and it was a really like tension-filled scene. And again, the Psycho scene is very different, but it has that kind of visual style to it that was really interesting to see. It reminded me of when I saw The Phantom Carriage, and it pretty much has the Shining scene with the axe in the door. It's like, I see where that, you know, where Hitchcock was perhaps getting some inspiration from there. But yeah, Tom Conway, who's in all three of these films from Val Lewton that are in the book, did very good in this film. He has a very interesting accent, like just so crisp and enunciation perfect, this British accent. He's quite an intriguing character just to hear speak dialogue. I really like the character who was a poet. I thought that his character was captivating in a way. The idea of this poet who just hadn't been able to write for 10 years. I almost thought he could have his own movie. And I thought the actor played him very sensitively, and I liked his character. And Kim Hunter was very good, as I said. Overall, it's a good film. Is it a film you should see before you die? I'm going to say no. But it's not an easy no, because I do think there's a lot of merit there. And I do think that as incoherent as some of the plot gets at some points, I was so engaged in that first like 40 minutes, and there's something to be said for that. And I don't know how. I can't pinpoint and analyze why that lead up was so well done, but for me it ticked all the boxes. And I don't even necessarily think that the payoff is badly done either. I just think that the reveal of what the reason was that Jacqueline was you know, going through troubles just was a bit to me. It didn't engage me as much as the rest of the film. So it is what it is, but it's definitely a film I'd check out again. And that's about it, I suppose. So there we go, The Seventh Victim. If you've seen it, let me know your thoughts down below, and I'll see you in the next one.